Today we are headed to Orvieto, Italy, so pack your bags and get ready for another travel adventure with me, Alexandra. Orvieto is a beautiful medieval hill town on the top of a sheer cliff, which is famous for its amazing Gothic Duomo. Talk about stepping into the past. But forget the past for a minute, let's head to the present. I took a 5-minute bus ride on the city bus and was dropped off here. Talk about an amazing bus stop. I would never get bored waiting for the bus here. Just look at what you have to look at. This Duomo is fabulous. It is covered in paintings and gold and sculpture and just really expresses the brilliancy of the medieval Gothic mind. There's a wonderful medieval museum, a modern museum, and a square that is just really worth the trip, or a bus wait if you have to do so. One of the great things about Orvieto is that even though you don't have the stand-back view of the facade, they give you this neat little medieval street that leads straight down to the door and the portal. This is medieval Italy, guiding your eyes, your heart, and your steps straight to the center of it all. A 2-minute walk from the Duomo takes you to a little tiny park overlooking some of the most beautiful views. This makes the trip worth it. Not only the Duomo, but the countryside. It is spectacular from up here. This is one of the things that I love about Italy, medieval monasteries. No matter where you go in the countryside, you always seem to find some remnant of the spiritual past. Everyone loves a great little winding Italian medieval street, so I had to throw one in, and there are a lot in Orvieto. It doesn't look like much, but this church is a medieval church dedicated to San Lorenzo, the martyr who was grilled and then said, "I'm done on this side, please turn me over." This is a great fresco. I had to throw that in. I just love that. Following the street away from San Lorenzo, I came to this. More spectacular views. So I just had to share. You can see that the city is actually built on the side of the sheer cliff here. It's incredible. This one I love and I had to throw in because if you watch, when I zoom in, you can actually see the rock that the city is built upon, and you can see where it was carved. Everything is literally hanging off the sheer rock of this cliff. Here's another great view of the rock. Talk about living on the edge. If you want to live on the edge, this is definitely the city for you. And this is all from the Middle Ages, and it's still standing. It's amazing. Despite all the celebrations of pasta and Tuscan sun, Italy has a rich spiritual heritage that is so sadly often ignored. And this is one of the things that I love about traveling to this country. The spirituality and the devotion that is still alive and that you can still tap into. Now granted, I know not all Italians are practicing Catholics. I think it's something like only 35 to 38% of the population. But for those of you who have a spiritual yearning and who have a soul inside of you, this is a place where you can tap into that. This is another great classic medieval Italian find. Just this little church down a narrow road and the black and white stripes. It's still so unique to me, even though I know it's classic Italy. The cats of Rome might be more famous, but the Gatti di Orvieto have the best seat in the house. Check this out. This cat has it made, wandering the medieval Italian tiled rooftops with what you know is an amazing view on the other side. And from cats with great views, we head to, what else? Nuns. What would Italy be without nuns? These sisters were great. I actually ran into them later in the Duomo and then on the train back to Rome. They got off at Termini with me and I saw them when I was walking back to my flat. It was really neat. And while the cats might have great views of the valley, this is the view that me and the nuns shared in the piazza of the Duomo. Just these great medieval buildings. And there they are again, enjoying their lunch. This I had to throw in. I love this about being in Italy. You find a little narrow winding road, and at the end of it, a niche in the wall with who else but the Madonna. Again, it's that spiritual source that you can still tap into. Do you have a Madonna in the side of your house? Now don't freak out, but I love this about Italy. This is a beati, a blessed person, the last step to becoming a saint. And I found him in a little old medieval church, underneath the altar in a glass coffin. And the reason that I love this is because even though it might seem kind of creepy to some, the idea of our own mortality and our own death, present before our eyes in the former life of someone who lived a holy life, reminds us that life is eternal. Death is only something that happens and causes us to be forgotten if we don't live our life for a greater good. But if we live our life for a greater good like this person, like them, we will live forever. But don't freak out. And this painting says it all. A religious person with the light in her heart, over her head and looking up to the light of God. It reminds you that this is what it's all about. Finding that love of God in your heart. Finding eternal life. And finding everything. So before we leave Orvieto, let's take one last look at the beautiful Gothic Duomo and all the amazing art. This is one of my favorite images on the Duomo, and I'll tell you why. Here you have St. Peter holding the keys, and he's pointing upwards. And he's looking at a group of people who are kneeling before him, and they're also looking upwards, pointing upwards, and their hands are in positions that gesture upwards. And there's angels, and the angels are pointing upwards. And if we follow their vision, what do we see? But the Lamb, which is Christ. And then if we go down the other side, down, 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 we come to a martyr holding a palm and pointing upwards. And then we have St. Paul with a sword and a group of other people, and they're also looking upwards. And upwards at what? But the same Christ, the Lamb who's also in the center of the rose window, the center of everything. The Gothic mind is brilliant and so often overlooked the genius it possesses. That's it. I hope you had a wonderful time in Orvieto, and join me again for more travels with Alexandra.